Hey guys, this is Gene, your combat carpintero, and I just finished my workstation or workbench. So I'm just going to show you the tools, commonly used tools that I put in my workbench so I can easily access them and use them on my everyday projects. So you can consider this as a workshop tool, but I don't have a workshop per se. I'm just using the living room of my house. So let's get started with my tour. Yes. So let's start first with my desk or the tabletop. You can see here. Let's start with this one. This is my wet wheel. Wet wheel. I use this to sharpen my chisel blades. I don't use them for plain blades. I just when sharpening plain blades, I just use water stones. Here we have a metal what's this, plate. So I use this to keep my screws here so they won't get lost, but this is not magnetic. I wish it was, but it's okay. And here here's my we have pencils and a marker right here, carpenter's pencil, and my Stanley utility knife curve. So I always keep it here so I can use this quickly. And here I have my homemade cell phone station or cell phone dock. I put my cell phone here whenever I am working, so it's close to me. And here is my glue station. So I have a wood glue here. It's Elmer's, and I also have a white glue, shell wood, and I have a silicone brush that I use to apply the glue. Here I have my Creston vise. It's very small, 60mm, but it works. It's good for small projects. And here I have some glues. This one is contact cement, of course, WD-40, very useful. All-purpose oil. My tape measure is right here. Sharpener for my pencil. I got double-sided tape. Magnets are very useful. What's this? Glue stick that I use to glue my patterns. And I got some earplugs and Greco or Cyano acrylic glue. And it's my notebook. This is where I draw my plans. It's a brush that I use to remove the dust from the table. Another small notebook. And here is my drill press. Actually, it's just a drill stand. And this one, this drill is just I bought this secondhand. It's a vintage Black & Decker. It's really good, and I like this drill. I like it a lot. It has 2 speed settings, and it can do most of the jobs that I need to do. And here we have my clamps. I just put them here, but if I need them, I just remove them so I can use them to clamp my projects. This is also Creston. It's very cheap, but it's very useful. And here we have a toolbox, a small toolbox. This contains my needle files inside, and inside are my other chisels that I don't usually use. So that's the table. And now let's go to my tool wall. Let's start first here on the left. The first tool that you can see is my Dremel 3000. It has a flexible shaft because I use this all the time. Behind the Dremel is a combination square right there. I don't usually use that, so it's behind. And here I have my rubber mallet, and then a wooden mallet, and then a small hammer. So since in this workshop I only do small projects, I just use a small hammer. If I need a big hammer, I have one inside in my toolbox. And here is my Japanese saw. This is 300, so it's very fine. and it's very handy. I like using this. This is my favorite saw actually because it cuts very smooth. And here is my bevel gauge. It's very important when you're making dovetails. Spirit level, it's good. Scissors, high quality scissor, and my aluminum square. So I use this all the time. I use this more than my combination square, and of course there's also a square here, L square. So on the top here I have my spring clamps, the steel, metal clamps, and the plastic clamps. Then I have my screwdrivers here. I have a lot of screwdrivers. I have like 30 or 40 screwdrivers, but this is the ones that I use a lot. So I have the combination Lotus screwdriver. It's flat and where's this? Oh, sorry. So I have the combination Lotus screwdriver, both flat and Phillips. I have the ratcheting screwdriver, and I have the big Phillips screwdriver, and the big flat screwdriver. This is a vintage screwdriver from my father. And this one is my ice pick that I use to punch holes on the tool wall or anything. And here is my T-square, small T-square, and behind that are my metal rulers. This one is my spoke shave, cheap and not very effective. This one is just a small adjustable wrench. This one is the big side cutting pliers. This is Milwaukee brand. It's very high end. This one is just regular pliers. Long nose vice grips, long nose pliers, of course goggles, which is very important if you're working with wood. Goggles are a must, and of course the mask to protect your nose from all of the dust flying around. And here are my chisels that I usually use. These are not special chisels. These are not expensive ones. These are just given to me by my father. God bless him. And I use them a lot. I always keep them sharp, so they're very useful. In front is a magnet strip. I just put some magnets there using double-sided foam, mounting foam, and then I use that to hold my drill bits, commonly used drill bits that I use with my drill press. And here is a file, half round. That's the only file that I need. Actually, I have a lot of files, but that's the most used file in my shop. And here we have an outlet. That outlet is 220 volts. So I use that to operate my drill press, my drill, which is 220 volts, and my other 220 volt tools. On top here we have my magnetic saw guide. Yes, when I'm cutting using my Japanese saw, I use this to keep my cut straight. Japanese hammer, which is very useful. I like this a lot. The Japanese plane, yes, also known as a kana. That's also very good. And here I have my block plane, Stanley low angle block plane that I also use a lot. And this mini baby block plane that I also love because it's very handy. I can use this in cutting some corners, putting corners on. Yes. Now this is my sharpening guide. This is what I use when I sharpen my chisel blades. And this is my marking gauge, Japanese marking gauge, also known as granil in Filipino. Yes. And of course there's a picture of my father. It's a very special place in my workshop. Let's go down to the bottom. And here you can see I have a plug for 110 volts that runs through a 2000 watt step down transformer, because most of my tools are 110 volts from the United States or from Japan surplus. So this is a very important piece of equipment. And here I got my impact driver, DeWalt impact driver, and DeWalt drill, cordless drill, 20 volts. This is the workhorse. probably the most important tool in my workshop, and I got 2 spare batteries right here. And then this is the charger. Then I have this skill. Yes, that's a skill sheet sander. It's useful, but it vibrates a lot, so I don't use that often. And this one is my newest tool. This is actually my favorite sander right now. This is the Rio V belt sander. This is very effective, and you can see that it's flat top, so you can use this like table mounted sander. And behind there is my homemade jointer, so I use that all the time, so that's why it's here, but it's behind. And here I have my ear protectors. So on the other cabinet here, you can see this is my scroll saw, Ryobi, another surplus fine, very cheap. I got this one for very cheap price. And here I have my compressor, mini compressor. I also got this from a surplus shop, and it's also very cheap. And here is my bandsaw, my Ozito bandsaw. It's not the best bandsaw, it's just 8 inches, but it works. I haven't tested it yet. The blade hasn't been delivered, but I'm very excited of in using this bandsaw in the future. Alright, so that is my workshop tour, my mini shop tour. And I hope next time I can tour the other parts of the house where I can show you some of the other tools that I use. So again, this is Gene, and this is your Combat Carpentero, signing off.